Star Trek Picard Episode 1 Remembrance. I'm Joe. Please subscribe to this channel. The first thing I was hoping for from Star Trek Picard came not true. And that was I was hoping they were going to release the episodes around 8:30 p.m. for purely selfish reasons because I get off of work a little early on Thursdays and I have Fridays off. That's not what happened. They dropped it at 12:01 a.m. Eastern Time Thursday. My response to that was that I woke up way early. Went throughout the day thinking about it and then watched it again on the train ride home, so I've seen it twice. And I have to say that I'm very happy. I sit here happy. I'm sure there's going to be people who are not happy because that's what society has become. Was it perfect? No. I could see this show tripping up along the way, much like Discovery has done at multiple points throughout their seasons. But all in all, I'm happy because we got Captain Jean-Luc Picard back. It starts with a dream sequence, which I really liked. It was him playing cards with Data. And the thing I really liked about the dream sequence was that you could tell it was a dream sequence if you're an absolute nerd like I am, because it starts off on the Enterprise D, and when you see Data, he's wearing the uniform that was on the Enterprise E. And I love those little details, because that's dreams. In a dream, you always take different elements from different places. Nice conversation, and then they see they're outside of Mars. Mars blows up. He wakes up. And you see that he is hanging out at the Chateau Picard. Thankfully, after the fire and they had to renovate, they put a replicator in. He's there. He has assistants, Romulan husband and wife team, and they're his assistants. They're his caregivers. He has a dog named Number One. And today, he's agreed to do an interview on the anniversary of the Romulan supernova. Before he goes in to do the interview, he's talking to his assistants and he says, they know the terms, right? I'm not going to discuss why I left Starfleet. The interviewer comes after him hard, and let's discuss what happened. So, this is where we learned what happened in the past, and that's the Romulan supernova that we saw in Star Trek 2009. Picard was the one who convinced Starfleet to help evacuate Romulus. Even though it was unpopular with certain people, he left the Enterprise to be the admiral of this task force that was going to evacuate Romulus. As this is happening, synthetics attack Mars and destroy Mars to the point where it's still burning now. Close to 100,000 people are dead. And I don't know if they're intermingled. I don't know if one has to do with the other. Maybe because the resources were being spread to the Romulan evacuation, they weren't able to protect Mars. That's not really stated too much, but what is stated is that they abandoned the evacuation of Romulus and they ban all synthetics. The reporter believes that, and I guess other people think, Picard left Starfleet in protest of the ban of synthetics, and then Picard, in a moment of him losing his cool, something we never thought we would see, says, I left Starfleet because it wasn't the same, and takes a dump all over the decision. He said it was immoral and criminal, and he wasn't going to be a party to it. He wasn't going to be there as an observer of Starfleet when they did this. When they turned their backs on the Romulans, he wasn't going to be there, and that's the reason he left. And I was very happy that the reasons he left were totally in line with this character. Daj, we get a scene with her in the apartment first where her boyfriend's murdered. Hooded figures try to kill her or try to scan her and like, have it activated? Has it activated? How many are there? How many of them are you? Boyfriend's killed. She kills the guys, gets out of there, sees a vision of Picard, finds Picard. She was in a painting that Data made, a painting called Daughter. You see her do this really cool thing where she's in the alleyway talking to her mom. Her mom basically tells you have to find Picard again, now focus, and she starts doing the whole crazy fast typing thing that we've seen Data do. She finds Picard, they talk, he tells her what he thinks. He thinks that somehow she's an android. And then the Romulans come again. She beats up and kills about at least 10 of them. She gives one guy a freaking German suplex before one of them spits acid on her. she starts burning, and the gun overloads, and she blows up. And there goes this really cool character we just met. So it's like, okay, that was very interesting that we just blew this girl up. Anyway, it goes along. He decides he owes it to her to figure out who killed her and what the deal was. She conveniently left her necklace at his chateau. He goes to the Daystrom Institute. He meets Dr. Allison Pill. Is it possible to make an android that's made of real flesh and blood? And that's where she gets into the conversation about Maddox. Bruce Maddox, from The Measure of the Man, who we know that Data stayed in contact with, wrote notes to, became friends with, continued on his work, and almost got there before the ban on synthetics, which crushed him and led him to go into hiding. But he had an idea. Another reason why I like this was because they used a lot of mumbo-jumbo technical talk that's going to be impossible to remember, which was something they always did in The Next Generation. But anyway, the point of his theory was something about taking part of the essence of Data, after explaining the process and everything, and saying that it was a female and all that stuff. The doctor says, they could be female. And he's like, they? And then you learn that this process, whatever this process is that Maddox apparently perfected, which somehow created a daughter from Data, even though Data had nothing to do with the creation, this process would make two of them. You find out that there's another one, just like Dodge, who got blowed up. And where is she? She is in the Romulan reclamation camp. I guess she's a therapist because a Romulan guy comes up to her, Narek, introduces himself, and they make googly eyes at each other. The camera pulls wide, and we see the Romulan Reclamation Center is a Borg cube. And that's where it ends. So that's what happened. We saw Picard at his prime through The Next Generation and through the movies. And we kind of got this odd thing throughout the original series, because we had them in their prime in the 60s, and then we got an older cast that played them characters again, especially Kirk, throughout the 80s and 90s. But they never played it old. They played up to the concept of being old, but it was like you never really got to see old. You got to see a fat, wigged Shatner pretending like he was still a kid, especially in Generations, but you never got to see him truly be old. This is, we're getting to see Captain Picard truly old. He acts old. He walks around old. He lost his cool in the interview, which is un-Picard in every way. His Earl Grey drink is now decaf. I think it's interesting. I think it's cool that we're seeing this, that we're seeing, they weren't kidding when they said we're seeing him in the last stages of his life or in the next stage of his life, which is him being elderly. When we met Daj, at one point when I saw her beat everybody up, and then later when she beat up people a second time, I'm thinking, oh God, she's a cool character, but he's going to be walking around with this girl who's able to beat the crap out of everybody. And then she got blown up. So it was a weird sort of feeling that it was like, she really was likable, and it was upsetting that she got blown up. But then at the same time, she was overpowered. So how was it going to be interesting to have any story being told? And then we got her back at the end. So I think that ended up working out really well. One of my happiest thoughts about this episode was a great transition from that Berman era look to the Discovery look, to the look that we got in the Star Trek movies that J.J. Abrams did. Had that sleek, polished look, but they got you in there in a good way. They transitioned you in with those opening shots of the Enterprise. Remember the Berman look, everything always looked like it was on a sound stage. It was very rare that one of those episodes actually was outside or on location. So it had a look. This does not have that same look, but it is a sequel. And I like the way they did that transition. It felt familiar, even though it looked like Discovery. The reveal at the end about the Borg cube also ties everything in. Everything's perfectly tied into canon. It was never really explicitly said in the movie, But in Star Trek '09, the Narada, the ship that came in, was using board technology. That was why that ship was so powerful. So that ties everything in. It ties in with the Star Trek '09. It ties in with the Next Generation, with things about like Maddox and all the things they talked about, showing the shots of him in the original outfit. Everything ties in. It was a great transition. I'm very pleased about that. Everything is looked under a political eye. On one hand, you're going to have the people who are going to come out and say the social justice warriors, they're going to try to push an immigration agenda down our throats because the stories about the Romulan refugees, and then they're going to try to say something about the media because of the way Picard was handled. But the people who say that are going to not be paying attention to the other issue. Liberal side, particularly liberal feminists, are going to look at this episode about the way females are used, and here it is, folks. The girl Daj, who is so pretty and so cute, is blowed up. And that is Picard's call to action after a decade of being a hermit. And they're going to complain about the fact that they use that old tired trope of the death of a female as the thing that drives the male antagonist out. They're going to complain about that, combined with the fact that when her clone sister, who's supposed to be a brilliant doctor, is introduced, she's introduced almost immediately as an easy floozy, as she's pretty much seduced on screen by the charming, troubled individual. Both sides of the aisle are going to find something to complain about. Maybe you're both wrong, and maybe it's just a TV show, and shut up. I'm very happy, I'm pleased, I'm looking forward to it. I watched it twice because I liked it. And I look forward to doing reviews on the show. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to our channel. Until next time, I'm Joe.